Hello and welcome to another video on the intermediate React version 5. This is a series of models of courses uh, taught by Brian Holt. Shout out to Brian Holt, a software engineer that has previously worked on Netflix, Microsoft, Reddit, and currently he is the PM of Snowflake, this database and service uh, product or company. And the point of this is to learn all of these techniques that allow us to, all of these techniques and tools for writing production ready React applications. You might wonder, why do you care about that? Well, because I am going to provide that service uh, recently, tomorrow, by the way, to a client. I need to know is from the practical aspect and also by the Brian Hall experience and their pain point is to when do I need to use this? What are their use case? What is the value proposition of each one of those particular topics? And also understand that how I can do and how can I offer that to solve a particular problem as well as improving my communication skills along the way, which is very, very, very important, especially as you gain more competence in your field. Your decisions will have tremendous amount of impact, whatever you are building, right? So, yeah, this is the specific or the general goal. Learn all of these techniques and tools right now that are using to build people on the industry production ready React applications. So the specific objective is like, well, what are these advanced techniques like code splitting, server side rendering, testing, as well as transition, something that we are quite familiar because I have experience working with Vue applications. And now, what are the tools that we can use to make our life much more simple for building these production ready React apps, such as Tailwind, TypeScript, as well as Redux. Okay, so in this course, we're gonna take a look at the hooks in depth. What are these different hooks that we can see in their docs, in the React docs here? All right, as well as what are the main use case, not only the where it is, not only hooks in depth like this exactly. So not only is uh, the use case that they give us, right, or the examples that React give us, but also is what are the examples and based on the Brian Hall experience where we can actually make use of those hooks. Okay, so hooks in depth. Then we're gonna look at Tailwind. What are these Tailwind? The advanced React performance, part of these advanced techniques. Okay, here we're gonna see is this uh, code splitting, low priority rendering. This is also part of this advanced hooks or hooks in depth as a way to look at two specific uh, hooks. Then we're gonna see TypeScript. Why are we using TypeScript? Redux, something that I'm quite familiar with, and then testing, which is something that the vast majority of companies are looking for people that can do testing so that they can write tests, whether it's on the front end as well as on the back end. In our case, it's on the front end. And setup is this continuous integration, continuous delivery as well. And do some exploration or monitoring, as well as how you can get user specification. So the point of this is to recognize that how easy it is to learn all of this technology, quote quote, easy. But the more challenging thing will be is what are the specific skill set that you need to learn as you grow and as you be more competent, or as you get more as you earn more seniority in a field. Most of the time, it boils down is to this soft skill. So it's not only your analytical skills, technical. Do you know everything that you know? Do you memorize or do you know the trade-off? Not only the coding skills, but also the communication skills. How good are you to communicate your idea? How effective are you when it comes to identify a problems and offer a solution? Pretty straightforward. Okay, so here we are. We look at hooks in depth as a way to remember React was created by Facebook for Facebook problems. So by looking at this particular way of how you can now look at these hooks, all right, as well as their particular use case, because prior to this, we look at what are the re, the core React or the React core concept, okay, such as the GSX, the hooks, custom hooks, effect, as well as component composition, and also aware of the React Dev tools and side notes on React strict mode and the environment variables, especially if you're working with applications that are using Webpack, which you might end up happen find a lot of applications out there using that. And then is the React capabilities, such as React router and React query. And then uh, how we look is at the class component, something that actually that was the way how components, UI components were built. And now we're using is the functional approach, right? Both of them can coexist. They have their own trade-off, okay? And then we look at this special case like error boundaries and context. So if we want to take a look at that, React that here, React complete intro to React. Also a course taught by Ryan Holt. Okay, I'm not gonna dive deep too much into this. It's just as a way to see what are these React core capabilities. So for example, here the core concept of React, GSX, hooks, maps, effects, as well as component composition, dev tools, and then React capability, right? React routers, and something that is not here, and React query, like this, uh, as well as the class component, and then a special case for that, which is error boundaries, models, and context. Okay, so understand that after all, React, the value proposition of this is that is generate based on a state you want to generate view out of it. Okay, and React, technically speaking, is only do one thing, and that is rendering components. That's all. That's all. Okay, so because of that, all right. Uh, Now we're gonna see is this hook in depth something that we might use as we starting to develop our application. So use ref is when you want to hold a reference. You can think of this as like sticker notes that you put on different things on your room. Okay. So the room here is the React application, and this reference is this sticker node that you can hold a reference. So technically speaking, now this is a reference that you can hold from an object. A good example of this is when you want to hold a reference uh, from creating is any a counter or a stopwatch, okay, or when you want to hold a DOM reference, okay, for that. So for example, when you want to then, after you set up the initialization necessary for creating is a 3D environment, okay, so when do you want to mount this? Okay, use ref, or to access control to certain DOM uh, APIs, such as video and audio. Okay, all right. The other is this is the use ref. The other is the use use ref, use ref, uh, use reducer, a very helpful hook for tracking how a state change. So by using this use reducer, okay, which is just a fancy name to say, hey, I would like to know what happened whenever a state changed. Technically speaking, is I give you an state and an actions to generate a bit to generate to generate a bit new state from it. So a real life example of this is like how can I know what are the ingredients, how much ingredients, uh, yeah, how can I know is how many pizzas, okay, a chef is making, all right, how many ingredients is using, uh, and how many orders he is processing, okay, from customers. So all of these different things, this reducer allows you to keep track when that things happen, and by putting is a particularly label on that, you can now have much more uh, certainty. The whole point of this use reducer is give us by using this is now generally speaking, then technically. So generally speaking, it will give us is more a deterministic behavior to make our change state testable and debuggable. That's great. So now technically speaking, it rely is on creating is a new instance of the object or a new state of that using the object.assign. Why object.assign instead object.create? Because object.assign, what it does is to provide is the own properties of anytime you create a JavaScript. So it doesn't going to inherit it, all of this uh, object. It's going to give you is the own property that this object that you're passing has. As a way to compose and create is a new object from that. So anytime you now creating is a new object, or anytime you are for some reason, the idea here is that creating is a new state for that. So don't pass things by reference, which is one of the things that might cause is trouble. This passing reference, this reference, because the way how JavaScript works and how it was designed is as a combination of the schema in which is this dialect of Lisp processor, as well as the Java. So with Java, you have this particular way of handling reference, which is anytime you create an object, which is a data structure, anytime you create this hash map, you want to hold as a reference in memory as a way to now reuse that. So in terms of reusability, that's great. Okay. So a real life example of this is, well, Wouldn't be better to have is so wouldn't be good to have one pocket or one backpack where you put everything in there, okay? You know that everything will be there. Okay? So when you want to know something, well, you know that's there, okay? But the problem of this is that you are going to rely on that backpack, which is there's nothing wrong with that, all right? But if you want to now organize things, or if you want to actually make your life much more simple, okay, in terms of, I just want to have one backpack to carry is all of my, um, yeah, I just want to have one backpack for my student stuff. Okay, good. I just want to have another backpack for hiking. That's right. So using is the backpack, using is the stuff, using is the hiking stuff from on the student backpack. I mean, you can, but it's not ideal. You know, the whole point of having this reference is that we can now have one single place, and from that place we can is store everything there. There's nothing wrong with that. Uh, the problem is that what happened when you started to change things. For example, what happened when you say, "Hey, I'm gonna use my student backpack, okay, for hiking, for grocery stores, for our mall store. I'm gonna use this backpack for everything. Highly reusable, right? Uh, but it's not meant for what it is, you know. So you are not being completely efficient with that. In any case, the idea here of this reference or having or creating this new state is because you want to now have a new record in memory. You want to have is a new slot in memory. You want to say, hey, this space that I'm reserving here, it belongs to this thing. Okay. So for example, hey, this space that I'm putting here is for my keys. So anytime I look to this space, I'm gonna get my keys because my keys will be there. Okay, so going back here to look at the use ref and then use reduster, uh, as well as the other custom callback, which is use callback, use memo. This is for performance optimizations, such as if you don't want to a particular component re-render. If you don't want a nested component re-render, only render once. Okay. Uh, so again, before using this, have a problem before solve a problem. That's part of the Brian Holt recommendation. Cool. Then the other is use layout and ID. So the use layout is, if you remember, for example, in the case of use effect, that this will run immediately after the immediately after a renders end. React renders end. Okay, but this things is not going to wait for render the thing. You know, it's just going to immediately invoke after the render function was called. With use layout, which is again very narrow specific of when you want to use this. So with use layout, it is going to now run that callback when when the render ends, which means not only when the render function was called, is when the entire element was rendered. Okay, when you want to use this, glad you asked. So, for example, when you want to resize elements, okay, if your building is a image editor, if you're building, for example, image editor themes, applications, this is exactly what you might want to do as a way to actually is uh, show the proper value or get the proper value on the width and the height. Okay, and the other is a use ID. This is something great, especially for forms. As a way to keep track now is the label and the input in that form. You might use that on other contexts, uh, but they tell you do not use ID for uniquely identified elements in a for loop. So, okay, that's why you have to use your own data, or you can use this UUID npm package. Okay, that's something that you can add. You want to now let the framework actually, or you want to know uniquely identify each one of those elements that are getting rendered. Okay, cool. Use this. This uniquely universal unique identifier, which is was used at NASA, and they now make this public from that, which is good. No, only interested in creating a version for UUID. You may be able to use crypto random UUID. Crypto random. hmm Secure context. This feature is available only in secure context. In some of in some or all supported. The random UUID method of the crypto interface is used to generate V4 UUID using a cryptographic secure random number generator. Return value string contained randomly generated 36 character long version 4 UUID. The question is this guarantee you uniqueness? Okay. Is this guarantee you uniqueness? You upgrading from UUI 3? Your code is probably okay, but check the upgrading form for that. Complete support for version 1, 3, 4. Mm-hmm. UUID 4. Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. When was the last time this was actually updated? If you take a look at this, crypto random UUID. Mm-hmm. Okay. 5 months ago. Okay. Prettier. Why I'm not surprised with prettier, bro. Okay. So yeah, cool. 23.8 million people. Jesus. Oh my god. UUID, yes. Home of the popular NPM model UUID. Holy moly. Anyway, all right. So yeah, and then we also look at other hooks that are very relevant and specific to creating React libraries. Right now, I'm not gonna dive into that. I'm not interested in creating React libraries so far, so that's one of the things that I skip that. And then look now at Tailwind, this tool that will allow us to add is CSS to our JavaScript React components. So there are several CSS, there are several libraries that allow us to add CSS to JavaScript. You have style components, we have emotion. So for example, ChatGPT is actually using that. Chat, uh, OpenAI, OpenAI is actually using that. Okay, OpenAI is actually using React with emotion, introducing Sora created with video text like this. So holy moly. Okay. Interesting. They changed now to Vue and Nux. Ah, they changed now to Vue and Nux, my friend. Hmm. Very, 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 very interesting. ChatGPT 4. GPT 4 is an OpenAI most model. What about this website? No, the entire website moved to Jesus. And they use Tailwinds. Why not surprised? Why I'm not surprised? The entire team is using Nox for that. Oh my god. I get it. I get it. So, the idea of today's video is to take a look at what are the things that you need to do. What are how you can describe tailwinds as a way to when you have to offer to someone, hey, this is what tail is for. This is what I look at their docs, and this is the use case of tailwinds. So, um, because the React community is moving toward to that. Okay, so the React community is moving toward to integrating that with Tailwinds. Tailwinds uh, is a compiler that it will take a look at your application, your code, and translate into minimize CSS. The trade-off is that you have to add all of these little uh, classes which makes your application which make it ugly. It might look ugly. All right. And again, this is something that I'm not saying that this is something that they mention in the talk, so I don't throwing any shade to someone that already throw shade at them. Okay, I think that's good. In the tailwinds here, tailwind. Okay, tailwinds here. Blah blah blah. Rapidly build modern website like this. So from their doc, I think it is an API for your design system. Uh, well, anyway, when this was created, exactly. Tailwind Lab, Adam Watson. But in any case, yeah, docs components. When you take a look at the docs, exactly. So generating the corresponding style and then writing them to a static CSS file. It is fast. It is fast, reliable, flexible, and reliable with zero runtime. So this is a compiler. So what is doing this is to so Tailwind is a compiler of your CSS that you define in your components and then translate it into mi- minimize uh, CSS to minimize static CSS file. Okay, so that's interesting. That's great. And then we're gonna see how we can adopt Tailwind to our previous project that we have looked so far, which is the Adopt Me. Okay, we were installing this CSS or Tailwind CSS. What are the things that we need to install as a way to make sense or to work with Tailwind? You can use this the post CSS or Tailwind guides. Okay, so for example, Tailwind CLI, you can use the Tailwind CLI or using post CSS. In our case, we use this post CSS rather than the CLI. Okay, uh, because first, Tailwind is the compiler uh, of this CSS into a static simplified CSS file. Post CSS is like the Babel. So, for example, if you take a look at this, Post CSS is like the Babel of CSS. Okay, a tool for transforming CSS with JavaScript. It also contains something called is autoprefixer that allows you to use is the modern CSS that works in every browser. That's lovely. Thanks completely. Sponsor Tailwinds and Team ISIL, trusted by industry leaders, Facebook, GitHub, Google, and none of that they back. Sponsored by Evil Martian. So okay, cool. Uh, so that's the reason why we use Post CSS, right? And they added this esoteric theme too. So Post CSS architecture. This is a way to understand how this is done. So the workflow is that CSS is at the parser through all of their plugin and then stringify to a new CSS. So this is the high level overview of the whole Post CSS workflow. So you add your CSS and then he parses that to new CSS from that. So exactly, Post CSS is not a style preprocessor like SAS or less. It's a tool for CSS syntax transformation. It's a bigger player in CSS ecosystem, totally. A large amount of lovely tools like Autoprefixer, Tailwind, CSS Nano were built on Post CSS ecosystem. There's a big chance that you already use it implicitly. Just check your node model. But yeah, the idea here is that uh, by taking a look at their particular CSS, okay, it passed through the parser, okay, and that parser actually is what is going to, yeah, mm-hmm, it passed through a parser where this parser passed through a lot of plugin to now the stringifier, which actually output is the new CSS that will be available, uh, that'll work on any major browser as long as you specify, as long as you tweak that. So, okay, this is Post CSS. I understand why we use Post CSS. Post CSS, auto prefixer, makes sense completely. I want to integrate another library for that help me to auto correct my tailwinds. Tailwinds here, tailwinds, which is tailwinds prettier. Okay, automatic class sorting with prettier. Exactly, it's a way to give me this auto formatting here. For that, I already installed prettier as a dependency and the prettier plugin Tailwind. And as a way to see if that actually works, I run that here. Let me let me show you this to show you that this is supposed to work. I say something like this: P P9 P9 margin 0. When I save this, hmm, uh, the formatting doesn't work because I have a lot of trouble there back then. Even though that I installed this, okay, even though that I installed here this, when I look at the output here from Premiere, They say, hey, I'm detecting is this. How do I restore this? Okay. How to restart VS Code? How do I restore my VS Code? Mm, Workbench action reload window command. Exactly. Reload window. Open the command palette and execute the command reload window. Okay. Okay. So we can say reload window. Restart this. Okay. As a way to say now this is the configuration I want you to load on prettier. Okay. On prettier. That's right. Using the config file from this. All of this is from GitHub Copilot, that kind of thing. All right, there you got it. Okay, so I think that this is supposed to work. It's running this. It's actually, in fact, uh period option. Okay, formatting, period option. Using config file from this period instance is in no model. Using ignore file if present. There is not ignore file. Using config file at this file info ignore false infer partial babel detect local configuration will not be used prettier file path prettier option plugin is this but you didn't in fact actually is it's like you are mess up this the flame now it works oh that works all right okay that works awesome now it works now it works oh it works all right awesome it works okay okay oh my god cool so now we can finally get our hands dirty okay now finally we can get our hands dirty good good so as a way to understand what is tailwind okay because that was a very interesting question someone in the audience asked Brian Hall, hey, is this how do you put it? Is Tailwind a is Tailwind like Chakra or Bootstrap? So what is the difference between Bootstrap and Chakra and Tailwind, right? So in the case of Bootstrap, is that Bootstrap is a UI design system. So if you build a website with Bootstrap, it will have this Bootstrap style, like, all right. So you know, so if you build something with Bootstrap, it will look like Bootstrap website, which is totally valid. Okay, for internal web app. Here, this is when I want to bring is uh, the quotes. Here's what I want to bring: the highlight, the spotlight. Uh, yeah, the spotlight, spotlight, spotlight. This is a movie. I don't know what the spotlight is or image. Exactly, spotlight, spotlight. But the spotlight is. Oh, I get it. Oh, a spotlight. I remember. I remember. Mm-hmm. I remember. I remember Spotlight. Yeah, yeah. It was a very interesting movie. So I want to bring the spotlight here to this difference between the booster and the tailwind. So booster is this user design system, pretty much like material. So if you build if you build something with bootstrap or material design, you will know. Okay, it will look like yeah, it will look like bootstrap or material design, which is valid for internal application. What you don't care about is but you don't care about the look and feel. When you don't care about how it looks, as long as it is useful and nice. So this is these two UI design system, and their particular use case are very, 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 very important because you can ship those as any product that you want to do, that you want to build. Okay. So yeah, totally valid. Totally valid. Uh, which is part of that particular market. Okay, the market of selling is themes and that kind of thing. In my case, I prefer to actually take a look at the business side. Why? Because that's where, when I say the business, is what is the value that I'm exchanging here. Okay, because if I exchange here is this particular template, so you can use that whatever you like it. And if I don't promote you to build your business, uh, what am I doing? It's like this have a short life as long or as long as you can provide this long-term support, which is now entering the realm of subscription. Okay, uh, which is now entering the realm of subscription. Okay, okay, totally, totally. I love it completely. Uh, so yeah, that's one of them. And the other, okay, the other is this. Uh, Bo- Tailwinds is a methodology. So Tailwind is a methodology for writing CSS. You can create a user. You can create is a design system of Tailwind, but Tailwind is not opinionated about how your website it looks like. Okay, so that's the subtle difference, and this to me is something very very important to bring up here, especially when you're going to provide now your expertise as a consultant to a particular company. It's like what we are using. We're using Bootstrap. Great. What is the product here? Is for internal use? Great. Material design, Bootstrap. I'm good for that. Totally. Yeah. Completely, man. Completely. Don't change any piece of this. Don't change any piece of that. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Completely. All right. So with that little intro, now it is time to actually take a look at the next topic here on Tailwinds. Right now, you're not able to see what I'm gonna do because I'm going to is take a look at the course. Uh, I don't want to receive any strike here, which is something that one of their one of their legal consulting firm for asset protection or digital asset protection contact me, which was a person that works on the military, and then now tell me, hey, you shouldn't record yourself while you're learning. You can make video reaction about it, but you're far exceeding fair use. So what you gonna do? You oh okay. Okay. So here we are with tailwinds here.
All right, try that. So to sum up, do npm install dash capital D prettier dash plugin Tailwind CSS like that. I am currently on version 1.0.1.13. If that's something that's not working for you, try installing specifically that version.
01.13. Mm-hmm. As a way to make as a way to everything work as expected for the prettier plugin theme. Point 1.13. Now they are point 0.5. No point 1. Yeah, point 1. Point 1.13. Okay. So the reason of actually is to log heavily this packaging is as a way to guarantee that this will work no matter how many years pass. You can have some vulnerabilities when you install that. That's part of the thing. Uh, I don't know what prettier version they're using, so I'm not gonna use that. Uh, yeah, I'm going to remove this prettier here, and inside of this, I'm gonna say, hey, remove the recursive force way, the node model. Okay, there you got it. And now I want you to, oh, because we are here, this is actually not recognize this. Something that are gonna do that later. Go to bash here. All right, good. And mm-hmm. Okay. Is now it loads all the proper. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Cool. Uh, yeah, 22 I did. Okay. The point of this is how do you put it here? That's right. npm install. All right.
I have a .prettier.rc file. You'll have to delete that .prettier.rc file and replace it with a prettier.config.js because it's going to require you to import something. And then just put this in there, module.exports equals some sort of uh, predictable order, right? So thank you to friendly.
All right.
So the one that you might find annoying here is we had to do our background directly in the style tag. This is still CSS, right? If I put a CSS class in here, it'll still shows up. It's still CSS, right?
So now let me add this. Let me do something here. Remove this and also uh, clear out here because I want to now is add the proper style here. Proper style here. The proper style here as a way to evaluate this because we are in GSX. So I want you to evaluate this. This is the context that I'm working here. And then you say background here with that long URL. I definitely gonna copy that long URL. Ain't gonna do that. That's not me.
So with all that, it's just very useful
That's not me
for
completely.
you can do A, B, or C. All of those will work.
All right,
So you should end up with something
and
like that.
I think I need to add is
You can do A, B, or
the
C. All of those will work. So you should end up with something like that. And okay, so far so good. So a couple of things here. What are these class names? Well, again, uh, Tailwind is atomic CSS. So we're putting just the bare minimum amount of CSS, and we're going to be using just classes to represent the CSS that we would want to write. So if you actually mouse over this here, we're
GSX.
using that IntelliSense.
Okay.
You can probably guess what m-0 is going to be then. Margin 0, right? So this is saying I want on my body of my
Hmm.
application here, I want no padding and no margin.
Parsing error GSX should be either an expression or a quote
This,
GSX
welcome to
text.
Tailwind CSS. That's what this is. It's just putting in
Okay.
utility classes for all the CSS that you want to write.
But that's not what it is
So I'm
exactly.
sure right now you're thinking like, this is great or this is awful. And there's really very rarely much in between. So let me just say
Exactly.
that on one hand,
Because it's
this
this,
is
my
so
friend.
fast to write. I don't have to switch between CSS files. I can just put stuff on the go as I'm going. It's very fast to like prototype stuff really quickly. So I use Tailwind all the time, but I just need to like get something done and out the door as fast as I can. Tailwind is great for just being really fast.
Unexpected token for
You
that.
can imagine some of these class names get long and gross, right? You'll start having like 30 class names on one component. It's a little weird,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're gonna have to decide what you think about that. I'm gonna invite you to try it. I'm gonna say if you're really grossed out right now, it's probably better than you think it is.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
Questions so far before we get
Okay,
before we riff
it's
on
like,
this?
hey, I want you to evaluate this expression. I want you to evaluate this expression and then
Never used
this
it,
one.
but that sounds like a lovely thing.
Okay.
Oh, that seems like a great idea. So like it'll sort your classes for you automatically.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay.
So the one that you might find annoying here is we had to do our background directly in the style tag. This is still CSS, right? If I put a CSS class in here, it'll apply to do that as well. Or you can just put it directly in as a style tag. There's no problem in doing it this way if you're in Tailwind CSS land. That's just kind of up to you. We did M0, but there's also, as you might imagine, M1, right? You can see that's 4 pixels, M2, 8 pixels.
That's also interesting because it's actually
12,
telling you that.
that's
So
48
thanks for the
pixels.
IntelliSense
This
that
goes up to
telling you that.
96, it looks like, which is 384 pixels. There's also negative M, then it's 12
Okay, okay. It's actually making this introduction to this.
interval. That width, and you can see all the autocomplete here. Okay, we're gonna do width dash full.
Mm-hmm.
Padding 7. Background gradient.
Okay, in the header we're gonna put that here. This is something that I'm quite familiar with because now this is something that I have more experience at. At the surface level, I have a lot of experience here. Class name here, W full. I don't like the U doesn't complete me here. Say full. Oh my god, I love that it actually autocomplete that. And be 10. I love the autocompletion, man. The IntelliSense text center, and also it tells you what is the style that you're gonna apply to this. Okay, padding 7 here, as well as a background gradient. So background gradient, background.
Two
Okay, I mean, is
B.
this
So
background
that's background gradient to bottom.
gradient
From dash yellow
to bottom?
400
Okay,
via
from
orange 500
from
to red 500.
yellow 400,
You can see that total
400, 500, yellow 400 via orange via orange 500, and then to it's pretty much descriptive, bro. To red uh 500, right? And text center. So here it's not working. So printer is not working. It seems that it's not working. Printer, it seems that it's not working. So let me actually do this. Reload window. Okay. All right. Everything worked as expected. If I say this, now it's not working. Hmm. Will you tell me why you're not working? Could you tell me why you're not working? It is quite annoying this, I must say. It is quite annoying here. Output, hmm, allegedly. It throw me an error because it say now. Okay. Using config file here, error handling text editor change, cannot read property of undefined within parser. Okay, can you, yeah, clear output. Okay, you say, okay, reading parser. Use the config here, error handling text editor change. Uh-huh. Cannot read property undefined here. Cannot read property undefined of this. The, don't you install this plugin? Don't you have that plugin installed, my friend? So please, I want you to install that plugin. Install all of them, right? I already tell you which. Here we are. Auto prefixer and say install prettier Tailwind. But it seems that we need to install is that prettier, because for some reason it's actually take a look. It's looking at that. It's looking at that. Because you say, hey, I gotta find this. Cannot read property of undefined reading parser. So if I now install prettier, which is something that you didn't install prettier, which in theory is supposed to work. Okay, in theory is supposed to work. Okay, but it throws this error here. So let me do something here. Let me do this. Okay, now there should be no problems here. All right, so reload the window. This is one of the things from Prettier that you have, because this dev server is actually quite annoying. This this dev server is very quite annoying. Okay, but there's something wrong here. There's something wrong here because you're not doing it that properly. Okay, it's actually auto formatting that properly with the configuration that you pass here. So for example, if I say something like this, it's actually auto formatting properly. Okay, no problem, no problem. Let me gonna do now this with prettier. Okay, I want you to now load this with prettier. Okay, and when I comes to actually save, you say, hey, error handling text editor change. hmm But this was working. This was working when we had prettier installed. When we have prettier installed, this was working. npm, when we have prettier installed, this was working, man. On development. Oh my god. When we have prettier installed, this actually worked as expected. So install prettier in development. Okay. Now when you reload this window, what happened? The Visual Studio Code say, hey, I'm gonna get is this prettier version, allegedly. You're gonna get this prettier version, allegedly. But it throw you this same issue. Mm-hmm. 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 This actually was working. This actually was working pretty fine. But now it won't. But now it won't. Not even is the style here. You know. Now it won't. So how you can now fix this kind of issue here? Okay. Okay, prettier. Okay, prettier. Okay, prettier. You are very very annoying here. Prettier. Prettier.config.js. And here when you say model.export, who the tells you that export? Okay, I want you to now do this and fetch that model here. Okay, saving printing config, running printer, go for matter. Reload window, and now is the time for you to use this. Prettier has a bad user experience here. Prettier has a very bad user experience. Oh yeah, it is, man. Prettier has a very bad user experience, man. Yep, as you can see here is this. Prettier has a very bad user experience, man. Oh my god. Prettier has a very bad user experience here. Model export, because it's plural, has a very bad user experience. Look at this. Look at this. Prettier has a very bad user experience, man. Working with this Node.js server here has a very bad user experience, man. And then he tells you, no, actually everything is good. No, it's not. It's not good. I haven't touched any configuration in Prettier, not at all. Couldn't find that. Okay, let me now install that by having a bash here, and then say removing a recursive force where all the node models, and then install is the necessary dependency here for this extension. Okay, right, that's great. Cool. Now you already have that. You already have the Prettier plugin installed. Okay, reload the window again. Jesus. It's because you are not able to detect that. You are not able to detect that. And by you I mean is the prettier. And by you I mean is prettier. And by you is I mean is prettier. Look at this. Prettier now is not available to. It says, hey, no, this is not. Okay. Unfortunately, I will have to take a look at. Oh my God, and it's blocking me completely. It's blocking completely this. You are blocking the code, the formatter. And to me, it's like, no, don't block the formatter. Who the fuck you think you are to block the formatter? Oh my God, stop blocking the formatter. Just because I changed the version, that's what you have to be careful with versions. That's a dependency. Holy moly, man. Enough. Come on. Go on. Go on. Come on. Move on. Move on. No? Three, two. Okay. So when I reload this window, giving in this particular version, hmm, hmm. The issue here is this model, is the way how these models are actually working behind the scenes. CommonJS, ModelJS, is CommonJS, ModelJS is the way how they are actually being called. Because these newer versions, they don't rely, they don't require this prettier RC, which means that you can say is this. And by doing this, all right, come on, come on, reload the window. If you don't want, no, no, no. It's because behind the scenes the interoperability that I have between Prettier, whether we're using CommonJS or EXS, is not good, bro. It's definitely not good. I'm speaking right. It's definitely not good. It's definitely not good. It's definitely not good. So when I say something like this, you should auto format in that. But you're not gonna do that because you are not able to even reload behind the scenes the prettier server. It's only on reload window, reload window. Oh my god. Okay. Will you now work this time? Completely. Okay, it's working. Why this actually is loading twice? Anyway, this actually is formatting that properly.
Plugins require prettier plugin Tailwind CSS.
Mm-hmm.
We have our
Mm-hmm.
form here,
Mm-hmm.
and these inputs are not exactly what you would call inspiring, right? So it'd be great if we had some sort of consistent styling among. So the one that you might find bottom
Yeah, this is styling with
via
CSS.
is that there's a stop in the middle at orange 500, and then it goes down to red 500 for the gradient. Padding 7, so it's a padding of 1.75 root ems, and then text is centered. So this, now you're starting to get a real taste of what Tailwind CSS classes look like. So if you refresh this, what are we going to expect to see on where to look for a CSS? So you have to put just here /source, refresh the content option. One crucial thing that we missed here, you have to tell it where to look for a CSS. So
To Tailwind.
you have to put just here /source /star dot, and then here you need to tell it where to look for your files, for your source files. JS, TS, JSX, TSX, HTML. This kind of covers all of our bases of where all of our files and what kind of file extensions to look for. If you don't anticipate doing TypeScript, you can leave off the TS and the CSX, but you do need the JS and the JSX and the HTML. Okay, now you can see what we have here.
So if we run this, we say npm run def, and you open that in the browser, you're gonna get this ugly faces here. Okay, and now we have to indicate is where are the files that we need to load. Okay, to Tailwind. You need to look up for that on the content. Here we're gonna say, hey, I want you to now look on the source for what in any directory where their file name extension match one of these. JavaScript, TypeScript, JavaScript extend, TypeScript extend, or HTML, right? Or HTML. and that'll be all. So if I now take a look at this, we reload this, he might add in some other class, by the way.
Classes like that.
That's interesting because you didn't even load the header. Is there any reason you didn't want to load the header like that? Adopt me? You didn't even apply any of this. It seems that this actually doesn't work. They're not working. Hmm. This is more like you are not adding the proper version. Mm-hmm.
Top to bottom. Start migrating. Adding right, right.
Perhaps I'm not adding it as the class name. Yeah, class name is this. And for some reason,
Ground gradient. Gradient at HTML. To come back to my app.jsx. It's very. Let's give this a text that went a nice little HTML.
but it's not even loading this. Oh my god, which version? That's one of the reasons why you're using a specific version of this. Why you're using a specific version of this. How painful it is to use this specific version. Jesus. And this actually doesn't add anything to that. You know, it's like, I get it. I totally get it. Oh my god. Yeah, we're using this. All of the proper version there with post CSS, how to prefix it with that. And the main issue is, well, for this, it's actually already solved that. But we are not installing that. It's like, we need to add that into onto our CSS to style here. Oh, interesting. That explains a lot of things. Why he didn't load that. Okay. It is time to import the things. You say unknown role, user settings. And here you're gonna take a look at this. Ignore. Here. Exactly. Period. And now you save this You rerun that again. Okay. Now we should be able to actually load is that proper style for that. Okay. Now we're doing that. Okay. So the next thing is actually to say, hey, what is the next style that I want you to add? Okay, which is on the title, that kind of thing. Let's go for it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Okay. We will need to add this particular style to that. Okay, the next one is the is how we're gonna add now the proper different style here, which is this on the text CSL on the text here where you say class name again, you say text, love to see this text 6SL as well as text white, followed by the when it on hover text gray, text gray 200.
Oh, there you go.
And when you take a look now at what we're doing here, which is here,
Just a note here on link, particularly with regards to React Router DOM.
yeah,
It passes whatever you put here as class name directly onto the A tag underneath it. So nothing too surprising there. Let's pop over to searchresults.jsx. Sorry,
search parent.
search.jsx, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And here on this, you can delete this search params class here, and we're going to put my, so that's going to be margin top and bottom, right? So my0, so margin top 0, margin bottom, as in like the y-axis, right? That's where the y comes from. As you might imagine, if you wanted to do just left and right, you could do mx, that'd be left and right. So I think for the most part, Tailwind divides the page into 12 columns, right? And you're telling it to take 11 of the 12 columns.
Yeah, the following is this particular pattern here.
Okay. Here on the form, we're going to say class name equals P10.
As a way to
so
center this
10,
element, and the width of this element will
margin
be
bottom
this.
10, rounded, large, like very rounded, background gray 200, shadow large. We want like a large. Was that a drop?
Class name
It's not a
here,
drop
which is
shadow.
part of the
It's just
JavaScript API, and here we're gonna add is the padding,
box shadow. That's what I was looking for.
padding 10. You
Let's
think
see.
you're
Display
funny.
flex columns. Just
Okay, and then you're gonna say margin bottom at 10 as well. Rounded, rounded, large. We wanna be very, very rounded. Background, gray here, 200, and then you have is the shadow, large. Make it flex and flex column. Okay.
justify center.
Okay, so now make it
And
this as a column here,
center.
flexible. Okay, and justify Then I justify center here. It actually auto format that, which is good. It actually is working. And then I want you to now provide is a shadow large from that. I think it has a padding here, padding 10. That's right. This is twice here. Then background gray, that kind of thing that you got.
So this is
Flex column item center. This is to say, hey, this item element will be is a flex box. Okay, so it will follow is this. If you don't specify, it will follow is the normal flow of showing elements, which is flex. You have flex column, which is now the way of saying, hey, this will be column, and I want you to make any items inside of this center.
doing display flex, like flexbox, right? We're doing it into columns. We want the items to be centered. We want the item. So this is a line item center, right? Yeah. And this is justify content center. We want rounded border radius background pretty quickly here with Tailwind. This is what Tailwind buys you. If this is appealing to you, you're starting to get why Tailwind is useful. If you're sitting there thinking like this still isn't worth it, then I'm probably not going to sell you on this too much more than that. But I want you to know that there's things out there. Undeniably, you can code very quickly in Tailwind. Does anyone have any questions about this? I've kind of shown you for the most part what it feels like writing in Tailwind. It's more of this. And you might be sitting here thinking like, how do I know all the names of this? Well, one, with that Tailwind and IntelliSense where I can just say like, how do I do like flex grow? I legitimately off the top of my head do not know how to do flex grow. I just start typing flex dash grow and it just shows up, right? So one, I'm usually pretty close at guessing, and between that and the IntelliSense, I can usually guess all the CSS things that I need to. Beyond that, their docs are great, so just go check out the docs. But yeah, for the most part, most of these things you either use them so much like margins and paddings and text sizes and text colors and things like that. You just remember them off the top of your head, and the ones that you don't.
Like the styling with CSS. And this is styling with CSS, which is it's not that hard, by the way. Styling with CSS is, you can say, take a look at this as a way to get your hands dirty. Follow this. Follow me here. Okay.
You can either find quickly or find the docs.
Nope.
We have our form here, and these inputs are not exactly what you would call inspiring, right? So it'd be great if we had some.
Yeah, this input is what we call inspiring. So this is adding a Tailwind CSS form plugin. And oh my god. Adding CSS Tailwind form plugin. Now we're talking. So as you can see, this form is not quite inspiring. Ins- Inspiring. inspiring, right? Mhm. Jesus.
Sort of consistent styling amongst all of our inputs here. Now we could go and style them individually. You might imagine that that would look kind of gross, right? So let's not do that. Let's lean into something called a Tailwind plugin. So you can go get like a consistent design style. So this is kind of getting more like towards Bootstrap and Chakra and stuff like that that have like more of a design system feel to them. You can get some of those things with Tailwind as well via plugins. So go ahead and open your terminal here and say npm install d, capital D that is, Tailwind CSS forms, and we want 0.5.3.
Okay. This is it's especially the version that
So
we
at
want.
Tailwind CSS slash forms at 0.5.3.
Okay. So let me now add in this plugin here. Okay. Let me install is this plugin in development, which is here. So now let's go to install a plugin here for the form.
Okay, then head back over to your Tailwind config and plugins here. You're just going to put require
Because after all,
at
this is
Tailwind
a
CSS
Node.js.
like that.
Okay.
This will bring in all the necessary stuff that we need, and this
Here is on the plugin. We're gonna add that. Here, this particular pattern is something that you're gonna see a lot. Which is Tailwind form. Thanks for the auto completion. Thanks for the auto completion. Totally. Is really, really appreciated. And add that to the Tailwind config. Okay. Very, very, very appreciated. Very, very appreciated.
will allow us to use Tailwind CSS form. So it's actually kind of just default styles for our forms. So actually now if you go look in your, I need to start my server again, npm dev, and refresh the page. You can see here, getting closer, right? It's got like a nice, it looks bigger, it's got like a nice down arrow to it. We're getting closer to this looking nice. So head back over to your application, go to search params, and then now we need to do just a few things. So the first thing that we want to do, notice that our location here isn't getting any style whatsoever. That's because the way that Tailwind CSS is doing its selectors, it's looking for a type and not necessarily an input. So you can see here on my location, I don't have a type on here. That's because if an input doesn't have a type, it's implied a text input. We just need to be explicit about it. So say type equals text. And you'll see right away, this already gets some style. That's because it was looking for the type equals text. Okay, now on all of our selects and inputs, I want you to add this. I want you to add class name equals width equals 60, margin bottom 5, put it on the select here.
Okay, this is not giving you style to the form, by the way. So as a way to give you this preset uh, form, because it's actually quite annoying doing this over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So the point here is by looking at the search pattern. Give me a space, my friend. All right. And so by doing is this on the search pattern, I want to now on all of the input here, you have to specify that this is an input type text because that's what it's looking for. An input type text, and for every select here, thanks Peter for auto formatting our code. Thanks Peter when you set that properly. Okay, so type text, and here with the class name because this is a valid CSS style here. In fact, this is how do you access to class name through JavaScript. We're gonna add this particularly styles here. M5 blog and 64. Okay, so a way to give them is margin MB some margin at the bottom. Okay, and indicate that each one of those inputs will be a block. So show me is one after the another with a width of 60. It actually tells you what actually this means, which is 240. All right, 240 of the width of this input, and this is something that we're gonna paste here in our form. So select here, as well as the other select here, and good, lovely, love to see this. Would love to see this?
And put it on the select here.
Exactly. And as you can see here, all right, on the form here, now take a look.
Already looking significantly better, right?
Exactly. So now it looks significantly better. After adding these classes, it now look significant. It now looks significantly better. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Okay.
And this actually already has some nice grayed out styles as well. So we actually really don't need to do much more than that. I'm going to show you just so you know. If you want to have different styles for disabled, because if you remember correctly, the select when you have nothing in it. So right now it's disabled, but you can kind of see, right? It's a little grayed out. It's probably hard to see on that screen, but let's just go ahead and make it even more obvious that it's disabled. So on the breed selector, you can put disabled opacity 50. This will make it 50% see-through, so it'll look really grayed out. You can see there, it looks really grayed out now whenever it's disabled.
Disable opacity. Yeah, but this is now disabled here. When it's disabled, opacity 50%. Then you take a look at this, and you're gonna see that this is really.
This will make it 50% see-through, so it'll look. We saw that with hover. That works with disabled. It works with focus. It works with any one of those kind of modifiers that you see.
Modify his CSS.
Okay, let's round it up by making our button look useful here. And then back, I don't remember what that was for. Now you can see I have a nice little orange submit button there. Cool. Any questions about styling forms or disabled states or anything like that, or plugins? You can make your own plugins, by the way. If you have like your own style system and you're sharing it amongst all various different people, by all means, plugins is the right way to do that. I would say what we've done for, you can make your own plugins, by the way. If you have like your own style system and you're sharing it amongst all various different people, by all means, plugins is the right way to do that.
If you have,
I would say what we've done here is fine, especially with this like, we have
exactly.
a form,
If you
like
have
your own style system and you're sharing it amongst all various different people, by all means, plugin or plugins. You can make your own plugins, by the way. If you have like your own style system and you're sharing it amongst all
exactly like your own style system.
various different people, by all means, plugins is the right way to do that. I would say what we've done here is fine, especially with this like margin bottom block W60. I know we repeated ourselves 3 times, but we're not repeating ourselves anywhere else, right? But I know still some people are going to take offense to like I repeated myself too many times. I would like some sort of reusable class. Maybe if I had some sort of like a cascading style sheet of some variety that I could use, right? The temptation I know that you're going to want to do here is to go write CSS and just put it here, right? You could absolutely just head into your styles.css, write my input, blah, put that stuff in there and drop it in your code. It works. See, Tailwind's not going to prevent you from doing that. But
That's
at
the
some point,
speed.
you're just writing CSS again.
Exactly.
Why are you using Tailwind? Just go back to using CSS if that's really what you want. That being said, I'm going to show you how to add layers where sometimes this does make sense. And a good example of this would be like, let's say I have a huge website that has many forms and I have lots of inputs. It might make sense for you to have some sort of layer that you can apply, or some layer class. So let me show you how to do that. Tailwind has these 3 layers that it worries about. The base layer you can think of like your CSS reset. It's just basically like the body has this. The ordered list has by default
The order list
these
will
kind
have
of
this.
bullets. Has this
Unorder
kind of
list.
text indent. It's very like
The
base
anchor
level
will
setting,
have
kind of
this.
like the base layer of your application. The component layer is supposed to be things like I have this kind of
Input.
special form. I have this kind of title. It's very much oriented towards the components in your application. I have this kind of, you know, dog component. It will kind of match up with like your React components, to be honest with you. And then you have utilities. Like, is this the active one? Is this the not active one? And so you can kind of think of it that utility ones will be the most specific ones, then components, and then base, right? So utilities will override components, and components will override base. So you can think of them kind of like specificity. Utilities are most specific, components are less specific, and base are the least specific. So in other words, if something is conflicting between utilities and components, utilities wins. If something conflicts between components and base, components wins. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make our own search input. So we say layer.
So this is the layers here.
Components dot search dash input, and then we're going to do at apply width 60, margin bottom 5, block. So this at apply allows us to do Tailwind stuff directly in our style sheets. This at apply allows us to do Tailwind stuff directly in our style sheets. This makes sense to me. If you're in Tailwind, stay in Tailwind, right? Could you absolutely say with 60%, whatever, yes, absolutely, it's going to work, but don't.
Okay, this will make sense if you're in the Tailwind world.
Context switching will just destroy your productivity, in my opinion. So then we want like a grayed out disable.
Yeah, context switching will destroy your productivity.
Disable. Okay.
Yeah.
At apply, disable opacity 50. Okay. Now we have these two utility classes that we can use directly in our search params here. So instead of having this class name here, I can have, as you might imagine, search input.
And they're going to apply those.
Get rid of this. This is going to be
style
search input and grayed out disable.
But again, this is if you are tied to Tailwind.
And same thing up here, I can have search input.
And this will make a lot of sense. It's okay. It'll make a lot of sense, especially
now
if you have different, particularly layers,
but I have these utility
form layers.
That is what layers are for. By the same token, if you had base things that you want to do, let's say I have base, and I wanted my font family Comic Sans MS. It's gonna work? I have no idea.
No.
Anyway, that's where you do all that kind of stuff there. Would be in the base layer. Oh, layer. Right. Rather, layer base. There we go.
Okay.
Now this is so much more adorable that everything is in Comic Sans. But to prove my point here, if you wanted the font family to be different here, you could put it here and say this is.
But this is to stay okay, because context switching is the enemy.
You can see inside of here.
It is destroying your productivity.
There's a conflict between base and components, but components wins because
the components win. Because now he's talking about specificity here.
Okay. Any questions?
That was very, very, very interesting.
All right.
Okay. All right. So you talk about a lot of things here.
Where sometimes this does make sense. And a good example of this would be like.
So extending Tailwind CSS. Okay, extending Tailwind CSS. Yeah, my friend, extending So extending tailwind, extending tailwind. When you wanna exactly when you wanna stay there. Okay, extending tailwind CSS with layers. Okay, it makes a lot of sense. Extending tailwind CSS. Let's say, let's say you are tempted to use CSS class. Let's say you are tempted to use CSS class, and for some reason, and for some, and yeah, let's say you are tempted to use CSS class or to write. Let's say you are tempted to write your your own CSS class. For example, in a particular website that has several, in a particular website that has several forms, and you want to have specific, okay, and when you want to have specific style form on each one of them, on each one of them, okay, adding layers is the way to do it, because in our style here, because in our style here, because in our style.css we have this, where base, where each one of those tailwind rules, no, tailwind rules are describing something, so are setting things, where precedence, where the precedence here matters. So you have base components for utility, right? So you have base for resetting all of your style. So for example, un order list, the body, anchor tag, anchor tag, the component for pretty much resetting, for pretty much setting up, setting up the way, the look and feel of your component, or in this case of your tailwind component, because it's that component. All right, and then you have is utilities, which is for things like, hey, is this is this utility function?
Something conflicts between components and base.
In the utility function,
Then components and then base, right? So I have this kind of title. It's very much it will kind of match up with like your React components, to be honest with you. And then you have utilities, like
Mm-hmm. Tailwind components. So for example, headings. For example, headings. A utility which is for things like, hey, is this active or not?
is this the active one? Is this the not active one? And so you can kind of think,
Hey, is this the active one? For example, these utility are from Tailwind utilities. Utility first fundamentals. Hey, is this the active one? Logo, wrapper, content. Maintainability concern. Commonly repeated utility combination. This is easily solved by extracting components and partials and user editable language features like multi-cursor, which is with things like this. Aside from that, maintaining a utility-first CSS project turns out to be a lot easier than maintaining a large CSS codebase. Completely, man. Completely. Completely. Maintaining a utility-first CSS project turns out to be a lot easier to maintain and large maintaining a large CSS code simply because HTML is much easier to maintain than CSS. Simply because HTML is much easier to maintain than CSS. Large companies like GitHub, Netflix, Heroku just started Twitch segment and more using this approach with great success because it is way much more easy for them to succeed. Is this active on? Is this the active state or not? Very, very important here. Maintaining utility Maintaining a utility first CSS project turns out to be a lot easier to maintain than a lot of easier than maintaining a large CSS code base simply because HTML is more easy to maintain than CSS.
it's going to work, but don't. Use directly.
So what you can do thing here is like, hey, applying this, which is the next one. Is like by saying, hey, let me add is a layer, the layer counter for this. You want to have is the feeling of that the layer counter with the components and how you can apply is this. So switching context is destroying your switching context, switching switch switching switching context is destroying your productivity.
Our search parameters here. So instead of having this class name here, I can have, as you might imagine, search input. Here I can get rid of this. This is going to be search input.
This will be the search
grade
input.
out disable.
But again,
Same thing up here. I can have search.
this is something that you might not want to use it.
And now everything still works the same.
This particular
but I
approach
have
is
these
something
utility
that you might
classes
not use it.
That is what layers are for.
This particular approach you might not want to use it.
By the same token, if you had base things that you want to do, let's say I have base
Read
and I wanted
select.
my font family Comic Sans.
Because HTML is much more easy to maintain
work.
than that.
basic. So put all this be like a use Tailwind like it's supposed to be used. Let them get it.
But even though it's preferable
This is my favorite
to
like tech
use,
demo of like why Tailwind can be really cool. Head to results.jsx. Here instead of search, put grid gap for
because this is
grid
way much more easy to
calls.
maintain for that.
Just like that, I have a grid layout. It took me 10 seconds to do. Very
Exactly.
little recollection of like how grid works and that kind of stuff. Let's take it like one step further. Grid gap 4, and then you're gonna put grid calls 1.
Exactly. So when you
Then at
display
the
it in
small
one column.
breakpoint, so SM stands for small breakpoint. Make it grid
Mm-hmm.
calls 2.
Yeah, this is something that I'm quite familiar with.
And then at the large breakpoint, make it grid calls 3.
Layout with Tailwind CSS.
Now it's in 3, it's in 2, it's in 1.
I love it, bro. 2 and 3. Mm-hmm.
Pretty compelling, right? That like with like 15 seconds, I have a fully responsive grid layout. One, it's a magical CSS grid.
Automation.
It's just amazing. If you don't know CSS, like
Automation, man.
Flex and Grid, definitely take Jen's course on
Automation is the name of the game, man.
advanced use.
You don't want to automate that?
But this
No
is really
problem.
compelling to me that it's very productive to just throw stuff out like this without having to think about like, all right, what do I need exactly to do that in Grid? I mean, I could definitely do this in Grid. It would take me, 5 minutes as opposed to 15 seconds. Because I'd have to go look it up and remember I was like, okay, this is where all this goes for Grid. You can define these breakpoints. So I'm not showing you how to do this, but in Tailwind you can actually go and you can define what does small mean, what does medium mean, what is orange 500 mean. You can define all those various variables within Tailwind, but the defaults are really good, so I tend to not modify them very much. But that's totally on the table if you want to do that. I just remember having to do this stuff like by hand back in the golden days. Just kidding, I'm not that old. But like back in 2010 when I was writing code like this, like 2010 Brian is screaming at how easy this is. I remember having to do like responsive layouts in Reddit, so that would have been like 2013 or something like that. Having to code this stuff with like floats and stuff like that was just an absolute mess. Terrible. I remember the
Horrible.
first time I saw Pinterest, and my wife was like, "Hey, check out this cool app that we can like pin stuff and like that." I was like, "How are they doing that layout?" I was so upset. I like spent like days pulling apart their CSS to figure out how they do it. Then I found out they were doing it with JavaScript, and I was mad.
And then when I found that what, and then when I found what they're doing with JavaScript, I was mad.
Anyway, I don't know why that's relevant to what we're talking about right now, but it felt like a relevant confession to have. This is so easy.
Wait a minute. And this is something that is. Take a look at this. As you move on, well, something that Brian Hall is mentioned right now is that because we were now being able to apply is this kind of grid thing, okay, very straightforward, okay. That's part of the automation, man. So you must have to keep up the pace with that. You don't like it? It hurt your feelings? Good. Understand why it hurt your feeling, when it hurt your feelings, so then you can move on to another topic, which is more and more important. Uh, as a way to now live a life to coexist with where you are. Okay. So yeah, it's like yeah.
So now that you've had some time to see the instructions here for this card, this is what it should look like here on desktop. You see the layout of all of these images here. This is something that we wouldn't be able to achieve with Flexbox. Before we would just put a series of images on our rows. Now we need to think about this in 2 dimensions. So this is how I'd like it to look here on desktop. It'll actually work just fine as well on tablet. And then when we go to a mobile layout, this is the way that it's going to look. We're going to pile these on top of each other. So in this first exercise, what I'm going to need for you to do is to, first of all, of course, repeat what I just showed you. Take your figure and grate in this. Once you have that, drop in this pop art layout too. Set the HTML recording installation to the mosaic portion, 12A part of this challenge. Next up, let's take a look at some possible sort of so now that you've had some time to work with grid a little bit, see a couple of things demonstrated. Next up, let's take a so now that you've had some time to
All right. Okay. Stripe. Particular stripe. You say Paul exactly in this width. We're gonna do this. All right. This is how everything gonna look like when you are in this. Okay. Looks like this. Oh my god. Holy moly, man. Holy moly. All right. Okay. Cool. All right. Okay. Um.
Cool. Let's go do some positioning as well. I just wanted to show you how to do that. Head to pet.jsx. Uh, variables with it. This stuff like need now stands for small breakpoint. Make it grid calls. Now you
Exact. So if you take a look now at the other, which is especially when styling here on the result page here, and here instead of say adding the search, I just want now to add is the grid. I want to make this grid and grid layout by default 2. No, I mean 1. Okay. Or grid columns 1. Grid columns 1. Okay. And if I want to provide a gap between columns, I want to make that 4. It actually tells you how much is that, 16. So as you can see, it's actually doing all of the heavy lifting for that. And then when there is a small breakpoint, I want you now to make this as a grid column here, grid columns 2, and the gap, I think, or you're gonna maintain the gap. No, you're gonna maintain the gap. And when it is large, the breakpoint, I want to make the grid columns 3. Now, if we go back and here in our entry point, look at this. This is beautiful, man. This is lovely. And it guarantees you is responsive design. and it also guarantees you is responsive design. So right now you're not able to see that, but I know you are in fact actually see that. It actually guarantees you is this responsive design. Holy moly! So the browser is doing a lot of heavy work. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting. That's what the browser is doing. A lot of this heavy lifting. A lot of heavy lifting here. That was very interesting. That was also powerful. One of the reasons why I love to use is this. Right, complete. One of the reasons why I really love to work with this. hmm Layout with Tailwind CSS. This is now layout with Tailwind CSS is actually pretty awesome. Take a look at take a look at this. All right, which is pretty much is actually following is that line.
Now it's in 3. It's in, that was mad. Pet to pet.jsx. Link to top right
And now to pet
from
ESS.
white to transparent.
Okay,
Then
which is this.
PR2, so padding right 2, padding top 2.
If we take a look at the pet here.
And then here we get like this nice little gradient where it starts white and then it kind of tapers off here into the top right. It's positioned absolutely
Instead
on the
of
bottom
image
of the
container
picture.
is this.
It just kind of like gives it like a nice
And
kind of
once we navigate
look
to the
so
pet,
they're labeled nicely. So again,
what the fuck is this?
hopefully by going through this, even though you might still be minorly disgusted of like how long these class names are, can you see how fast I'm going with this? Like it's just wild
What?
how productive you can be with these. And I'm still relatively like a Tailwind newbie when it comes to these kind of things. People that have worked in Tailwind a lot get really productive and get really fast with this kind of stuff. So it tapers off.
Wait, what? Exactly. So why you suddenly mess up that when I say, hey, oh, and we change it? It's because I would change it that. This is some details. No, but on pet, we need to leave that as it is.
To transparent. And then
Oh, exactly. It's only another.
PR
Is here. That makes a lot of sense. So if you take a look now here, and which is the adopt, what the fuck is this? Reload this. Okay, okay. Relative lock. Okay. Remove the class image container. Alright, and then you're gonna only have this one like so. And then you got it here when this adding is this nice little box which you can have here with this transparent. Adding this gradient to that, to right, exactly. Adding these gradients to there.
Two, so padding right, two, padding top, two. And then it kind of so that they're labeled nicely. So again, hopefully by going through this, even though you might still be minorly disgusted of like how long these class names are, can you see how fast I'm going with this? Like it's just wild how productive you can be with these. And I'm still relatively like a Tailwind newbie when it comes to these kind of things. People that have worked in Tailwind a lot get really productive and get really fast with this kind of stuff. So, okay. And is to go do details on your own. You can either make it look like it did before, or you can make it your own. That's definitely a playground for you to go and try and expand your Tailwind skills. But you, I've now cut a checkpoint here, so you can go to. Let me just show you down here on Tailwind at the bottom. If you click here, this will take you to the complete project up until now. It's basically everything that we just did together.
Alright, so that'll be all for this video. Cheers, take care, bye bye.